Right now at 6, handcuffed when it comes to enforcing Portland's daytime camping ban. New reaction from City Hall to the streets.
He still gives us our freedoms. I mean, because people are not all out here by choice.
Plus, growing demonstrations as the Israel-Hamas conflict enters a second month with no end in sight.
We have to stand up for what we believe in. Not in my name, enough is enough.
And a big setback for homegrown nuclear energy. Why a first-of-its-kind project created in Oregon has been scrapped.
Good evening. We begin at 6 with reaction to a Multnomah County judge pushing pause on enforcement of Portland's daytime camping ban. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm China Green. Yesterday's ruling essentially ties the hands of the city and law enforcement. Blair Best has more details on this. Blair.
On this slice of state property, surrounded by a web of on-ramps and overpasses, a few homeless men find security.
This is the field. We have locations that we call certain areas. This is the field.
There's a lot of good rain cover. It's in a good area.
A good area for hiding, especially when the city of Portland was set to enforce a daytime ban on homeless camping on most city property. Repeat violations of that ban would have resulted in fines or jail time.
Kind of safe here. And it's close to shopping and, other things.
That ban has been put on pause after a group of homeless Portlanders sued the city, calling it unconstitutional given the lack of shelter space. Late this week, a circuit court judge ruled in their favor, temporarily blocking the city from enforcing it.
It's unconstitutional. It is. We have the freedom to be, as long as we're not making a mess, and as long as we're not destroying property. The spaces are here.
So this whole thing can be pretty hard to keep track of. So here's a quick timeline of Portland's ban on daytime camping. In June, the city passed the ban. They spent the summer and much of the fall in what they called an educational phase, where they informed homeless people about it, though many homeless people still know little about the ban. Fast forward to the end of October, the city announced they would begin enforcement on November 13th. But late Thursday afternoon, a judge blocked the city from doing that for the time being, arguing that the ban itself is unconstitutional.
It's super confusing and it's super stressful. People come here with a lot of anxiety already.
Katie O'Brien runs Rosehaven in Northwest Portland, a day center for homeless women and children. They were bracing for an overwhelming demand in services if the ban went into effect.
We felt a bit of relief. I don't think anybody in this scenario feels like, oh, that's a win. And it's not a win to, our community, our businesses, our neighbors, and our guests. But at the same time, there was this relief that came with knowing that there was going to be a pause.
She hopes the city will use this time to create a more organized approach to addressing homelessness, which she says recent efforts have lacked.
Communication and coordination and additional resources being available is going to be the key to success in getting people off of our streets.
Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler says the city will continue to fight in court for the city's right to regulate unsanctioned camping, and that the court's decision only makes the city's work harder.
At the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We all want people not living on the streets.
You might say that about sums it up. Blair, what about those who thought this ban could be a positive step toward getting something done?
Right, so David, many people may be frustrated and might see the court's decision as just another hurdle getting in the way of anything actually being done. But remember that last year, a group of Portlanders with mobility disabilities sued the city of Portland for tents blocking ADA access on the sidewalks, and they won that case. The city agreed to start removing campsites like that. And the lawyers behind that case tell us an update on that work is coming soon. David?
Blair Best in Southwest Portland. Thanks so much, Blair. Let's get to weather now, where it is 54 degrees on this Friday evening in the Rose City. Mostly dry for a change, but it is November, so you can bet it's not going to stay that way for very long.
Chief Meteorologist Matt Savino is here with a first look at your Veterans Day weekend forecast.
Hey, China, thanks so much. Yes, it's dry right now. It's cloudy, but it's dry. We found a crease in the clouds looking west from our camera in the Dalles. You can see Mount Hood here. Then the clouds kind of bubbled up and cloaked it over, and the clouds, well, they win tonight and they win tomorrow, although there could be some sun breaks late in the day. The worst part of the weekend weather-wise will be tomorrow morning. That's when this next front moves in. You can see we're dry right now, but there is rain up as close to Portland as Longview, and a few showers out along the Oregon coast too, but a whole mess of rain out along and off the Washington coast, and that'll be heading our way as we go into the morning hours. So yes, it is going to get rather stormy, but not tonight. We're good if you're heading out this evening, or high school football is going on. A lot of people have plans, so we should stay dry. But tomorrow morning is going to be one you might want to just stay inside, because not only will it be rainy, it's going to be very windy. We're going to get gusts as high as 45 miles an hour on the coast and as high as about 30 or 35 miles an hour in the valleys. There is a wind advisory for western Washington, not western Oregon, but there is in the Columbia Basin, as the gusts over there may top 50 miles an hour. And there's a winter storm warning in the North Cascades of Washington, where they expect to get a foot, maybe 2 feet of snow up around Mount Baker. So that's where the worst of the weather will be this weekend, including Seattle. It's heading up there. It's going to be very blustery. We'll be dry tonight till after midnight, then rainy and windy tomorrow morning, but that'll begin to settle down as the day wears on. And the rest of the weekend will be dry until the next storm comes in Sunday night, but that doesn't happen until well after sunset. So yes, a blustery start tomorrow, but things will be shaping up after that. Guys,
enjoy the calm while it lasts. Thank you, Matt. Let's get to your headlines tonight, starting with the Portland teachers strike, where the district and union say they plan to keep bargaining through the weekend. PPS said they made progress at the end of bargaining yesterday, coming closer to an agreement on cost of living increases and planning time for teachers. We should add the caveat here that closer does not necessarily mean a deal. As far as we know, the district and the union are still at a stalemate when it comes to class sizes. We will keep you posted.
In the meantime, Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers have ratified a contract after last month's historic strike. Tens of thousands SEIU members in 6 states walked off the job for 3 days in the nation's largest healthcare work stoppage. The contract includes a 21% wage increase over 4 years, a $23 minimum wage in Oregon and Washington, and a year of accelerated hiring to improve staffing ratios. However, pharmacy and imaging workers who are members of the UFCW remain on strike.
In Clark County, a man is in custody after a hoax message about an active shooter this morning sent Legacy Salmon Creek Hospital into lockdown. Just after 11:30, dispatchers got a text message from an unknown number that said, quote, active shooter at Legacy Hospital. Apparently, they were able to determine the sender was somewhere nearby. The hospital went into lockdown and diverted ambulances while deputies investigated. They say they traced the text back to a 42-year-old man named Fabian Primera, who deputies arrested nearby. That lockdown was lifted after about half an hour.
A jury has awarded a Salem man more than $3 million after Salem police wrongfully arrested him and used excessive force in 2021. At the time, Christopher Garza was working on a car outside the tire shop where he lived and worked. Salem police officer David Baker arrived just after midnight. Garza says Officer Baker accused him of trying to steal the car, then roughed him up while handcuffing him.
I went to one surgery and I need another surgery. My arm probably won't work the same ever again.
A jury ordered the city of Salem to pay Garza more than $3 million. We reached out to the city of Salem for comment, but we have not heard back.
And Portland State's plan to build an on-campus performance venue to replace the aging Keller Auditorium has moved another step forward. This week, City Council authorized funding to study the project over the next year. The plan includes a 3,000-seat auditorium, outdoor plaza, hotel, and conference center. The city will also be studying creating a replacement for the Keller at the Lloyd Center. The final concepts for both proposals will be presented to council next year, though the city has not ruled out a renovation of the Keller.
Let's turn now to the conflict between Israel and Hamas. President Biden is calling an agreement to briefly pause bombing in Gaza a step in the right direction. The daily 4-hour pauses will allow people to get out of dangerous areas. Tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians have already fled through a designated safe route. However, more than 200 people are still held hostage by Hamas terrorists in Gaza. Their families are desperate to get their loved ones back and are asking Israel to do whatever it takes.
Let's bring in Evan Watson now in the newsroom. Evan, you've been talking to people in the Northwest who are trying to make their voices heard.
Yes, David, a group of about 40 people from Portland are going to a major protest in D.C. next week to support Israel. Jewish Federation leaders expect about 50,000 people at the rally at the National Mall. Local efforts in support of Israel continue. Today in Southwest Portland, we caught the preparation for a bake sale fundraiser. The March for Israel in D.C. will also focus on standing up against anti-Semitism and the return of those hostages held by Hamas. Meira Spivak, director of Oregon NCSY, a youth organization for Jewish teens, says all the people traveling to the rally want to stand up for, quote, humanity.
You know what's nice is that originally when this whole thing happened, everyone was in shock and, starting to collect money and raise funds. But now it's over a month later, and I don't even feel like the activism has dropped. We go from one activity to bake sales, setting up tables today to represent the hostages that are missing. We cannot rest.
Doesn't stop there. Yesterday, about 100 Reed College students and others protested in support of Palestine at the World Trade Center in downtown Portland. A Palestinian speaker and others talked to the crowd about the heartbreak their families and others have experienced. The group called for a ceasefire and the end of civilian killings in Palestine. Portland police say some protesters entered the building. Police later arrested 6 protesters for trespassing and vandalism and mischief charges after they spray-painted pro-Palestinian messages inside. There's also a pro-Palestine rally planned for tomorrow in Sewellcrest Park. Different labor unions are meeting to call for a ceasefire in Palestine, protesting the bombardments and the displacements. Olivia Catby, an organizer with the Democratic Socialists of America, says she wants elected officials to call for immediate peace.
Yeah. This is a genocide. Nearly 1.5 million people have been displaced. And so the first immediate step we can take is a ceasefire. And the next step we need to take is to stop sending military funding to Israel, which is maintaining a regime of apartheid over Palestinians.
All this local activism, as Secretary of State Antony Blinken said today that the U.S. is focused on getting American hostages home and stopping this conflict from expanding. David?
Thanks, Evan. Appreciate that update. Speaking of updates, federal officials have announced a new group they say will focus on the mental health of pilots.
It comes in reaction to the off-duty pilot accused of trying to bring down an Alaska Airlines plane mid-flight. The FAA says it's creating a committee to help decide how they can make it more likely that pilots will report mental health issues. Therapists say many pilots will deny mental health struggles because a diagnosis could cause them to be grounded or lose their credentials. But the FAA says in a statement mental health care has come a long way, and they, quote, want to consider those advances when we evaluate the health of pilots. Meanwhile, the pilot at the center of the Alaska Airlines scare opened up to the New York Times about what was going through his head that day. Joseph Emerson said that he believed that he was in a hallucinogenic state that had been plaguing him since he took psychedelic mushrooms 2 days before the flight. He admitted to trying to pull the emergency shutoff handles while he was riding in the jump seat in the cockpit because he thought he was dreaming. He told the Times, quote, I thought it would stop both engines, the plane would start to head towards a crash, and I would wake up. Emerson went on to say that he struggled with mental health for a long time, but that he refused to seek medical treatment for depression because it would affect his career as a pilot. He told the Times he's not the only one. Emerson is currently being held in the Multnomah County Jail, facing 83 counts of attempted murder along with other charges.